Hey, this is Warren Radlick with an update on my favorite Tesla killer, Lucid Motors. Lucid Motors had their Q3 earnings call, and they have demonstrated yet again that no one has better PDF technology than Lucid Motors. The quality of the pictures in their earnings slide deck is far above what anybody else achieves. Unfortunately, the quality of their results may not be quite living up to the quality that some people expect from a company that makes promises and fails to deliver. I understand that when I make these criticisms of Lucid, somebody can come back and say, well, Tesla fails to deliver on some promises. That's true. Tesla doesn't always deliver on everything they promise, but their volumes do grow as opposed to Lucid Motors, whose volume is flat and revenue is now falling. So very nice, but great numbers here. They don't. Oddly, the key statistics don't include the revenue decline. They don't mention that revenue's down. Like maybe mentioning revenue's down would be worth mentioning. I don't know. This is the critical detail, in terms of guidance, right? What's coming. So in the second quarter here, Lucid guided. So just 3 months ago, Lucid guided to production of more than 10,000 vehicles, right? And now they're guiding to production of 8,000 to 8,500 vehicles in 2023. Now, they mentioned in their investor call and they mentioned in the slide deck that there's some 700 vehicles that are in transit to a factory, a quote factory in Saudi Arabia, where they take disassembled vehicles and reassemble them. It's not really a factory. And that those 700 vehicles, I think they're hoping will be, quote, produced, as in reassembled, by the end of the quarter. So, including the 700 vehicles that they expect to reassemble by the end of the quarter, they are hoping to get production of 8,000, 8,500 vehicles in 2023. Their production projections have been declining like crazy. If you go back to when their original slide deck back in February of 2021, this year was supposed to be 49,000 vehicles delivered. Delivered 49,000 vehicles, including the Gravity, 12,000 of the Gravity. Now, the Gravity has been pushed off production until late 2024, so they're not going to deliver Gravity until 2 years late. And yes, I know Cybertruck's late, Semi's late, but Tesla's overall production has continued rising 50% a year. Lucid Motors production is flat and or declining. Lucid's deliveries are flat and or declining. Another little quibble here, if you go back to their slide deck, they were projecting all the way out into 2025 having average selling price revenue per vehicle sold greater than $100,000. They're down to 94,000 already. So where they projected significantly higher revenue per vehicle back in 2023, they're already significantly below that number. So they're delivering fewer vehicles, they're producing fewer vehicles, they're reducing prices, and they're like Tesla's reducing prices, but they're growing production and deliveries over the last, number of years. They've grown 50% a year cumulative average growth rate. Lucid flat. They're flat. Tesla is probably going to, they're going to hit 1.8 million vehicles this year, which is going to be a 50% increase on the pace from the 2000. It's not 50% on last year, but it's, from 1.3 million to 1.8 million. That's a pretty big number of growth. Lucid stopped growing. They're a growth company that stopped growing. They're losing money. There's so much more in this. So you can see their revenue went the way they do their numbers here. They don't compare it to the previous quarter. They compare it to the previous year, and their revenue was down even worse compared to the previous year. They had made $195 million in 2022 third quarter. They went down. Look at the drop in revenue year on year. That's a massive drop in revenue. They went from 195 million to 137.8 million. Last quarter they had 150 million or 151 million. So their revenue is declining. They're losing more. But their cost of revenue was not much different in the third quarter of 2022, but the revenue dropped dramatically. So they're losing more money than they were a year ago, and they're shrinking revenue. This does not seem to be a great investment to me. I'm a little fuzzy on how these things work, but that just doesn't seem like a great investment to me. I guess I don't know what I'm talking about. So this was back in the slide deck from 2021. They projected Europe, I think EMEA is Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Deliveries expected to begin in 2022 and 2023. 2022 for Europe, Middle East, and Asia, and China deliveries expected in 2023. They're not even talking about China deliveries. I didn't see any mention of China deliveries in the call. They're focusing on North America. They're going to do some assembly in the Arab world. I think they may have made some European deliveries, but that was a year late. And deliveries for Gravity were planned to start in 2023. They have now pushed production of Gravity to late 2024. And I think we can see with the pattern of behavior, Gravity's not really going to be produced until 2025. It's not going to be produced in significant volume. There's not going to be a lot of volume in 2025. So where's the story? And they're going to run out of money in 2025 unless Papa Katsu, Saudi Arabia gives them more money, which is likely. Saudi Arabia will keep floating this pig, but it's just it's not a good sign. P&L, this is from back in 2021. They were going to get to positive cash flow in 2025. They were going to get to, some level of profitability in 2025. Even, EBIT profit isn't really profit, right? All of these projections of profitability are now pushed out 2 years. So you're not profitable. If everything goes great, you're not profitable to 2028, but you're not growing. So where's the growth? When does Lucid grow? I don't see where the growth is. You'll see later they're talking about the mid-size vehicle will be, kicking in as we exit mid-decade was the words. Well, that means like 2020. They're not even going to have a mid-size vehicle until 2027 if all goes well. If all goes well, and all hasn't been going well. So, these volume numbers, they're not going to be anywhere close to what they projected. They're Everything's been pushed off, and they run out of money. I just don't see how this company survives. Other than the Saudis just giving them money. They had projected gross profit of 1.14 billion in 2023. They're actually going to lose close to 1.5 billion in 2023. So, this is a really, really big swing. And, they're not going to be profitable in 2024, right? They're basically telling us they're going to be burning cash through the end of 2024. They're not going to be profitable through 2024. They're probably not going to be profitable in 2025. So all these gross profits that they talked about back in 2021 are gone. What's the path to and they were asked the path to profitability, and they don't really have one. They don't have a path to profitability. It's not there. And, in their ongoing cost-cutting efforts, they hired Mark Winterhoff in a newly created role. They created another executive role, a COO. And they hired Corey Steuben from Monroe and Associates. Like, bringing on more executives doesn't, you need to produce cars and sell cars, and you're not able to produce cars and you're not able to sell them. I don't see where the future of this company is. Now, they've announced they're going to have a reveal of Project Gravity. I'm sure it will be just as informative as the reveal of the Lucid Air was back in 2020 when they lied to us about everything then. We'll see. Will that excite the market? You're going to have a luxury SUV in a tough economy, and maybe there's a hope that the economy recovers by 2025 when you're actually selling a few of these things. I'm hopeful that the economy recovers, but what are the prospects for this vehicle? And their volume vehicle is pushed off so far. I just, I've been beating this drum for a long time. I don't want to bore everybody to tears. I think Lucid Motors is toast. It's crazy that anybody puts money in this company, but people put money in anything. And the Saudis, I'm surprised the Saudis just don't take it private. So check out the Tesla Air T-shirt, the Turn Impossible into Late T-shirt at elonbits.com. Please check out my new novel, Shelby Hits the Fan, available on Amazon. Shelby Hits the Fan. Thanks everybody so much for watching. Thank you for your support. Please support me here as a YouTube channel member, on X, WR4NYGov, as a subscriber, on the Daily Lie, warrenredlick.locals.com, or on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support.